Friends, have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of unwanted, distressing thoughts that seem to come out of nowhere? Thoughts that make you question your faith, your morality, even your sanity. So you're not alone. In fact, you might be surprised to learn that even some of the most revered saints in the Catholic Church struggled with intrusive thoughts. In this video, we will explore intrusive thoughts from a Catholic perspective and discuss how Catholic teaching and spirituality can offer a unique approach to overcoming this silent battle. Today we're going to be examining the stories of saints who faced their own struggles with intrusive thoughts and learned from their experiences in rejecting these unwanted ideas. Additionally, we will address the crucial role of mental health in addressing intrusive thoughts and explain why it's essential not to rely solely on spiritual solutions. We will address common assumptions, find inspiration in the experiences of saints, and explore the power of combining spiritual and psychological tools in the battle against intrusive thoughts. So, what are intrusive thoughts? Intrusive thoughts are unwanted, distressing thoughts that can cause significant anxiety and discomfort. These thoughts can range from mild to severe and may include themes of violence, blasphemy, inappropriate sexual content. It is essential to understand, however, that having intrusive thoughts does not reflect your character. Thoughts are only thoughts. Thoughts are not facts. But just how common are intrusive thoughts? According to the National Institute of Mental Health, an estimated 2 million adults in the United States suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, a mental health condition characterized by obsession, intrusive thoughts, and compulsive behaviors. However, intrusive thoughts can occur to anybody. What is important, though, is how we manage those thoughts and whether or not we have the tools to canalize, to manage, to reject these intrusive thoughts. The Catholic Church acknowledges the struggle that human beings experience with intrusive thoughts and offers guidance on how to reject these thoughts. The Catechism of the Catholic Church states that temptations to sin are inevitable, but we must pray for the grace to overcome them. In other words, you need God's help to manage and reject intrusive thoughts that often come to your mind. It's important to remember that experiencing intrusive thoughts is not sinful, and more importantly, it doesn't define you as an individual. What matters is how we respond to them. There's a book called Spiritual Combat, written by Lorenzo Scupoli, and it provides valuable insights on how to spiritually reject intrusive thoughts. Scupoli encourages readers to recognize the thought as an attack from the enemy and not a reflection of your true self. What happens is that the enemy knows that our minds are fragile, and he takes advantage of that and will put in our heads some thoughts that may cause you to feel that you are in alert mode, and sometimes we'll put in your head thoughts that are distressing to create in your soul a level of distress that might keep you away from God, focusing your attention on the thought rather than God Himself. So, in order to reject these thoughts, it is imperative to immediately turn your mind to God and seek His help through prayer. Engage in acts of love and service to others, as this helps also shift your focus away from the intrusive thoughts. More importantly, I think it is critical to understand the power of prayer in this instance. There are words, there are prayers that you could say, such as, "In the name of Christ, I reject the spirit and thought of violence. In the name of Christ, and by his precious blood, I reject the spirit of lying. In the name of Christ, by the power of his blood, I reject the spirit of unfaithfulness." Now, while a spiritual perspective can be helpful, it is crucial not to dismiss intrusive thoughts as solely something that is spiritual. Intrusive thoughts are often a symptom of underlying mental health conditions such as obsessive compulsive disorder or anxiety disorders. Seeking professional help from a mental health expert is essential for proper diagnosis and treatment. Even the most devout individuals closer to God can experience this challenge. For example, St. Ignatius of Loyola battled intrusive thoughts that were blasphemous during his spiritual journey. In his autobiography, he describes how these thoughts would come to him during prayer and Mass, the things that are most important to them, causing him great distress. However, he learned to recognize these thoughts as temptations, as interference from the enemy, and he also learned to reject them by focusing on God's love and mercy. There's another saint, Saint Therese of Lisieux. She also experienced intrusive thoughts. Her thoughts were of doubt and unbelief, which she referred to as her trial of faith. In her autobiography, Story of a Soul, she writes about how these thoughts tormented her, especially near the end of her life. Despite this, she clung to her faith and trusted in God's love, even when she felt no consolation. Finally, Saint Alphonsus Liguori, despite his great spiritual works, was tormented by scrupulous thoughts and doubts. He would often worry excessively about his sins and whether he had properly confessed them. In a way, you can see the enemy acting in here by trying to put in your head the idea that you're not getting closer to God, especially when that's the most important thing in your life. Remember that what the devil wants to do is to divide, to keep us separated from God. And the best way for him to do that is to start by attacking our minds. However, St. Alphonsus learned to overcome these thoughts by entrusting himself to God's mercy through prayer. He also followed the advice of his spiritual director. And by the way, if you don't have a spiritual director, I recommend that you find a spiritual director immediately, because it is an opportunity to experience the guidance of God through the works of somebody that is trained to be a spiritual director and to guide you to get closer to God. Now let's go back to the saints. These saints experienced intrusive thoughts, but they also show how intrusive thoughts can affect anyone. Now, with faith and perseverance, and also the right support, it is possible to overcome them. Intrusive thoughts can be a significant source of anxiety for many, but Catholic teaching and spirituality offers valuable tools for rejecting and overcoming these unwanted thoughts. By recognizing intrusive thoughts as an attack from the enemy, seeking God's help through prayer, and engaging in acts of love and service, individuals can find relief and peace. However, it is essential to also seek professional help when needed, as intrusive thoughts may be a symptom of underlying mental health conditions. Remember, you're not alone in this struggle, and with the right support and spiritual guidance, you can overcome intrusive thoughts and find healing. Look to the example of the saints who faced similar challenges and draw strength from their perseverance and trust in God's love and mercy. Friends, we like to close every video with the Serenity prayer, so I'll ask you to join me. Let's pray. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below how you have experienced the love of God by asking for His help in moments of despair. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.